I held a VGC tournament, but only Gen 1 Pokemon and related ones are allowed. The tournament is an open team sheet best of 3 double elimination tournament, but one restricted allowed. Paradox Pokemon, however, are an exception to the Gen 1 Pokemon only rule. As long as they are related to a Gen 1 Pokemon, the Screamtail and Sandy Shocks are allowed. There's also one more extra twist. My server has custom Pokemon on it, with anything from custom Paradox Pokemon, evolutions, and regionals, so any custom Pokemon related to Gen 1 Pokemon are also allowed. This is a national dex tournament, meaning any move a Pokemon has learned throughout the main generations of the game will be allowed, and this tournament will also allow Terrestrialization and Mega Evolution. Now, in normal circumstances, if this wasn't a custom showdown server, the only restricted would be Mewtwo, which honestly would have been funnier. Mewtwo is a decent Pokemon with good offensive stats and speed with an item usage, and Terrestrialization, it's not the worst as a restricted. It and its megas were hardly used in actual VGC tournaments, mainly due to other restricteds always just being better. However, in Hell, our custom showdown, Mewtwo actually has 2 more new megas that have actually held up with power crap. Mega Mewtwo A turns Mewtwo into a Psychic Poison type with 160 base speed and 184 base special attack. It also comes with an ability that turns normal moves into Poison type moves with boosted damage. Mega Mewtwo Z turns Mewtwo into a Psychic Dragon type with 160 base speed and 190 base attack with an ability that turns normal attacks into Dragon type attacks with boosted damage. Other than Mewtwo is a new restricted called Mew 1, which, rather than being offensive like Mewtwo, is much more defensive with ridiculous bulk. 150 base HP and defenses along with Magic Guard, this thing is really hard to kill. The only downside is that in VGC, super bulky Pokemon like Toxapex and Skarmory tend to be pretty bad, as they are just kind of passive, and in a double battle format, as long as you just target the other side, you can just save Mew 1 to be dealt with later. Now, these would be our only restricteds if my community didn't vote to allow a special form of Pokemon to count as restricteds. Meet the Primes, extremely buff versions of vanilla Mons. Each one has plus 20 stats to all of their stats, a new competitive viable ability, and 4 new moves they normally didn't learn. To go through all of them quickly, Venusaur Prime now has Grassy Surge, Malignant Chain, Sappy Seed, Magigacha, and Extrasensory. Sappy Seed being a Let's Go Pikachu Eevee move, which is a physical grass type move that also sets the Leech Seed on the opponent if it lands. Charizard Prime now has Beast Boost, Bitter Blade, Aeroblast, Earth Power, and Trailblaze. Blastoise Prime now has Dauntless Shield, Armor Cannon, Origin Pulse, Shore Up, and Freeze Dry. Jolteon now has Transistor, No Retreat, Boom Burst, Bug Buzz, and Steel Beam. Screamtail Prime now has Unaware, Torch Song, Glitzy Glow, Moonlight, Sparkly Swirl. If I remember correctly, Glitzy Glow is a Psychic type Let's Go Pikachu Eevee move that sets up a Light String, and Sparkly Swirl is a Let's Go Pikachu Eevee move that also removes all status conditions on your team. Vileplume now has Triage, Fury Dance, Strength Sap, Spore, and Eterna Beam. All of them are incredibly strong and viable, kinda overshadowing Mewtwo all in all. But those are the restricteds players can choose to build their team around. While only Gen 1 Pokemon allowed, this doesn't mean there's a lack of strong Pokemon. The main thing to focus on is the Sun team. Mega Charizard Y has been a staple for Sun teams, especially in Pokemon Champions right now. Ninetales is also in the same generation if a player is in need of an immediate Sunsetter, and to pair with the Sunsetter are some good stuff like Venusaur, Victory Bell, Vileplume, Screamtail, Sandy Shocks, and Executor, who can get speed boost with the Sun and can either provide good support with Sleep Powder or just deal really high damage. This generation also has some decent Intimidators like Tauros, Paldean Tauros, Gyarados, and the OG GOAT before Incineroar, Arcanine. The tailwinds are a bit lacking in general, as in this generation, as the best you're going to get is Aerodactyl or Dragonite. But Dragonite isn't the worst with the other support it can deal, like Scale Shot, Speed Boost, and Extreme Speed to check some offensive Pokemon. There are some decent fake outers with Raichu, Alolan Raichu, Hitmonlee, Scrappy, Kangaskhan Doll Push, a Ghost Normal type variant of Kangaskhan with Fluffy as well, and Persian. The introduction of ZA Megas also threw a change into this format, as Mega Raichu X got Electric Surge, giving Jolteon Prime and Hell's new Mega Jolteon the power to use Rising Voltage, which doubles in damage under Electric Surge. And with Mega Jolteon's base at 160 speed, it goes zooming. And Mega Raichu Y has No Guard Sing and Zap Cannon, making scary threats. However, that would be the case if it wasn't for one new Pokemon introduced in Hell. I cannot pronounce his name, I'm sorry. This is a new evolution of Tentacruel, who not only has more stats but also has 2 really good abilities. Lightning Rod, which completely negates any electric threats and naturally can hardly be touched by any other attacks other than from the electric types. And with Recover and Mortal Spin, it can just wall off any electric terrain themed teams. Alolan Ninetales makes for a good support for a snow team with the War Veil and also Hell's new Mega Charizard. Hell's new Charizard Mega Evolution, Mega Charizard A, which makes it a Fire Ice type, which relies on Weather Ball for an Ice Stab, and with Slush Rush, it can go really fast. Snorlax is hella bulky and can make some threatening damage against opponents with Explosion and whatnot. Golduck can be used to negate any weathers and throw off any strikes that rely on it. Ditto can do some funny transformations to take advantage of opponent teams. Starter Pikachu has boosted stats and the signature move Zippy Zappy with priority and boosts evasion. Mega Gengar, Mega Kangaskhan, the OG goats of Gen 6 and Gen 7 VGC are back to create chaos. Weezing and Galarian Weezing can also completely throw off strategies with neutralizing gas. Clefairy, Magmar, and Electabuzz are the ghosts of Eviolite Pokemon, as Clefairy has Friend Guard and Follow Me, while Magmar and Electabuzz have Vital Spirit Follow Me to completely stop chlorophyll threats with Sleep Powder. Hell also has 2 new custom Pokemon that are insanely ridiculous in VGC. Meet Mr. Prime. Mr. Prime is a speedy and bulky Pokemon that doesn't really deal that much damage. It's a Fairy Dark type with Screen Cleaner to get rid of screen support, which hurts Screamtail Prime teams a lot, and has Filter to deal with super effective attacks. It also has many good support moves like Fake Out, Icy Wind, Follow Me, Parting Shot, Chilly Reception, Misco Fire, Encore, Taunt, and Ally Switch. It's a Pokemon with the built-in VGC package and fills every single team. Fantastic Friends is a paradox combination of Slowbro, and Slowking with a 590 base stats. It's a Psychic Normal type with also some crazy VGC moves like Chilly Reception, Follow Me, Trick Room, and Instruct. The crazy bulk it has, it can freely follow me as much as it wants or use Instruct to make allies hit an extra chance. With Trick Room, it can even outspeed basically everything on the field and utilize Instruct to make fast allies hit sooner. Alright, it's finally time to address the elephant in the room. With VGC allowing typically banned moves and abilities from single battles, I felt it was fine to be more lenient on allowing some strategies. I figured this format would be so offensive that it would make this strategy into simply an okay one, a decent one, and not a broken one. But I was wrong. Dead wrong. With Oko moves allowed, a scary Pokemon was lurking in the corner. Machamp. Machamp famously used to have Fissure but was removed from later generations after it received a no guard ability. However, since we are playing with National Dex Learn Sets, that means that it does have access to it. The no guard ability makes it so all attacks it uses and receives cannot miss. Fissure is a move that always one-shots the opponent if it lands, but is normally balanced by being a 30% accurate move. However, with the no guard ability, this attack cannot miss. With some good support, this Pokemon becomes untouchable and able to just freely launch fissures that one-shot everything. I thought it wouldn't be that bad. But honestly, I should have also considered that a lot of people participating in this tournament don't actually have much VGC experience. So before I go into some games, I wanted to show off 2 sample teams that I created before the tournament. Of course, I didn't participate in the tournament, but I did make some sample teams and help people test theirs. So 2 of the teams I really enjoyed using and thought, would be kind of centered around the meta are I'm going to show you right now. So first up is the Venusaur Prime team. It's a team built around Venusaur, obviously the Sun team, very big. I actually didn't do Mega Charizard for this one. I actually ran Ninetales for this one because I thought about it and felt that the immediate threat of the Sun coming up is really nice, because I figured if you go Mega Charizard Y, you basically have to lead off with Mega Charizard. Or lead off with Charizard if you want to get the Sun. However, if you have Ninetales, you don't need that. You don't need to lead off with Ninetales. You can lead off with Venusaur, and then with like Kangaskhan, you can maybe like protect with Venusaur, fake out with Kangaskhan, and immediately switch like Kangaskhan into Ninetales, and then immediately set up the Sun like that. And then you can kind of just be more flexible with your strategies for that. It's kind of the reason why I didn't run Charizard into this, and it worked pretty well during testing. So since Venusaur Prime gets Magic Gotcha, obviously you gotta run that. It's such an OP move. It can burn, it does, it hits multiple targets, and it's stab and does so much damage. The only downside to it is that it can miss a lot, and it does miss a lot because it is 90% accurate. Normally if this was single battles, you'd probably run Grassy Surge, but since this is VGC, we're running a Sun team, you'd run Chlorophyll this obviously. And since this is our main offensive Pokemon with 120 base special attack and 100 with speed, I did run Life Orb with it. Protect obviously because there's so many fake outers in this. It just seems highly important to run Protect. Weather Ball for, you know, to abuse the sun. And also if, you know, they set up some other weather condition, you can at least deal some decent damage with Weather Ball. Malignant Chain is highly important for Screamtail Prime teams. Of course, Screamtail Prime can just Terra. However, this kind of just forces that Terra, you know? And also, considering for like Mewtwo, Mew1, who Psychic types, you know, tend to like to run Terra Fairy, so Malignant Chain is also good for that. It's also Stab, so this is kind of just what I thought would be like the cookie cutter set with this Terra Fire. Obviously, Ninetales here. Ran Cover Cloak, so it doesn't matter too much because you have Protect as well to protect yourself from fake outs, but just with Encore to punish some stuff, you know, Heat Wave for just solid chip and Solar Beam for water types. It's mainly just there to set up the sun. Aerodactyl is your tailwinder in the team. You know, if you're going up against mirror matchups for Venusaur, maybe you want to play with a little less RNG. You don't want to do speed ties, so it's important, you know, bring out Aerodactyl to get this tailwind set up. This is probably going to be one of the best tailwinders in the format. So with the Focus Sash and Protect, you got to make sure you're not getting faked out, but with the Focus Sash, you're guaranteed to pretty much live every hit, and with Aerodactyl's really high speed, you're practically always getting at least one move off. So, and it's also pretty good to just get off that Tailwind and then just die afterwards to get a safe switch into something else. Mega Kangaskhan is absolutely absurd a Pokemon. You do want to run Scrappy pre-Mega, so that you want to analyze the situation. If you see a bunch of ghost types or potential Terra ghost types, you may not want to actually Terra first, so you can utilize Scrappy. But Mega Kangaskhan, even with Parental Bond nerfed, is still a great Pokemon, especially with Seismic Toss. This is probably the main counter to Mew1, who is incredibly bulky and just stupidly hard to break. But with Seismic Toss, you are dealing 200 HP flat each time you attack, and it's just so good. Now Sucker Punch is also really good for some of those offensive threats. This is kind of your last resort for dealing with some stuff. If you know you can't outspeed, and there's a lot of Psychic Ghost types in this format, so Sucker Punch, very good stuff, and obviously need Fake Out. Protect is pretty nice too. Now I have a second Tailwinder in this team, not super important, but it's your cookie cutter Scarlet Violet's Dragonite. I kind of ran it because, you know, it's Dragonite. There's not too many good Pokemon in this format anyways. There's only so limited options, but I found Dragonite's always a pretty good stuff, you know. With Terra Normal, you get Stab on extreme speed. You want to go offensive this. Between multi-skill and in-focus, it just felt like in-focus was much better to not be able to be flinched anyways. With Loaded Ice Scale Shot, you know, you want to deal as much damage while also getting that speed boost. And then if you get that speed boost, you might as well go for the Tailwind, right? It's a really good thing. And then for more support for Venusaur, you know, Clefairy here, honestly, I think this is actually not that good because this format, any format with kind of restricteds are kind of too strong for Clefairy, who just doesn't have enough bulk. Of course, the EV Life Friend Guard is still good and all. With Follow Me, the problem is Follow Me, you basically get like one chance to redirect a move and this thing just falls, no matter how bulky it is. But Helping Hand has nothing wrong, or you can get some decent stuff going. It's a decent support. It won't really come out too much, but in the right scenarios, it will still be kind of useful. Now my other team here is Blastoise Prime, because I wanted to use a Snow team, and I figured this would be the best Pokemon for it. So essentially, Blastoise Prime, you would use it basically in the same way as Zamazenta Crowned, at least from the Scarlet VGC. Since this gets on the shield, you might as well pretend, you know, LARP Zamazenta here, right? So with Terra type fighting, Body Press, you might as well use that. The problem is, and you do need to run at least some other move. I ran like Muddy Water, so I can actually do some decent chip by lowering accuracies at the same time, and it makes for quite useful support. And then Follow Me, because apparently this thing it does also get Fake Out. I didn't give it to this set because I felt like having Protect is kind of useful in some cases and scenarios, but yeah. Of course, I think Protect can maybe be switched out with Fake Outs. potentially, but the fact that this thing is so bulky, can follow me, and can also deal reasonable damage with body press is really nice. Just because look at that bulk, it's kind of crazy. Now this is the main support, but the main damage is actually Mega Charizard A, the thing I talked about a little earlier. Now if you're new to Hell or don't know anything about Hell, this is a new Mega. With 179 special attack, it's incredibly OP. The only issue, right, in single battle is it's usually never used. One, being extremely weak to rock, and two, because it has no ice stab other than hitting power. Your only way of getting an ice attack on this thing is with Weather Ball and the Snow up. And this also has the ability Slush Rush, so you get double speed and snow. So single battles is kind of high maintenance to actually make this work and can be easily counterable. But in VGC, even though Sun is a dominant, I guess, weather, with Ninetales Alolan, who is a support mon and can just immediately set up the snow, you know, you can also just switch it in on the same turn, and then Mega Charizard A will just outspeed everything and just click Weather Ball. Of course, not the most broken thing, but it's a very fun team. Alolan Ninetales here, I think, honestly, this tournament was a long time ago, but I think if I had to revise it after seeing other people's team, I would put War of Veil probably over Freeze Dry on this. While Freeze Dry is good for water types, it's really not that important. You'd rather go Blizzard for just the freeze, or actually probably go War of Veil over Nasty Plot. You kind of actually want to use this as a use its insanely broken support move, War of Veil. I don't know why I kind of went too offensive with this. It kind of made no sense. But the point is, this is your support Pokemon for Mega Charizard. Now, Electabuzz here is to act as a check for Venusaur Prime teams, or just Venusaur Prime, but specifically mainly just the support version with sleep powders, because with Vital Spirit, this thing can't fall asleep to sleep powders, and with Terra Fire, you're not weak to Weather Balls. I mean, before you weren't weak to it, but you were taking a lot of damage. So with Terra Fire, you know, you can take it pretty well, and follow me. You get those sleep powders redirected. No sleep powder, no spores are coming your way to put you to sleep. With Thunder Wave, you know, you can paralyze stuff, paralyze some of the huge offensive threats out there. And Electro Web, you know, you're providing slight chip damage while also doing the same. Taunt is also to deal with kind of defensive Pokemon, especially like the ones that like to set up follow or Trick Room, Follow Me, you know, like Fantastic Friends, Prime, something like that, you know. Aerodactyl, obviously, once again, is just for Tailwind support. And then Mr. Prime, this is the goats of the goats. I didn't use Fantastic Friends in this, but Mr. Prime also makes a really good support with Citrus Berry. With 125 speed, you are outspeeding a lot of Pokemon in general, just based on raw speed. It gets Fake Out, Parting Shot, and then I also ran Parting Shot with Chilly Reception here. The idea is just you want to use Parting Shot to get out if snow is already up, to lower their stats, but if the snow is not up, you need it for Charizard, maybe Ninetales is dead or something, you can Chilly Reception to get that. And the Mystical Fire is for some chip damage, and also to obviously lower special attack. So this thing can just either lower the enemy stats or just pivot out of there. It's quite useful of a Pokemon. And I made it Terra Ghost just because I didn't run Protect with this. I don't want it to get faked out during crucial moments. So these are kind of the two main teams that at least I thought would be kind of the main meta. Of course, I didn't consider Machamp being so OP. So, with enough yapping, let's go into some games. Right, so the first game I actually want to go over here is a game between Lux and D. This is their username, D. So it's a Mewtwo mirror matchup here. Essentially, D's team centers around Mega Mewtwo A, while Lux's team centers around Mega Mewtwo Z. That's why I thought it was a pretty interesting matchup here. So D's team, Mega Mewtwo's team, actually relies on a Psychic Terrain team, which is honestly a bit odd, because there is no auto setting of it. However, the Mr. Prime is there to set up Psychic Terrain. It's actually the only one that can set up Psychic Terrain. As you can see here, the Mega Mewtwo does have Expanding Force, and I guess if there's no Psychic Terrain up or it's gotten rid of, there is Psychic Psy Strike to also just deal your damage, and then Tri Attack is just for the stab, poison type damage. And then Clefairy is there to add support. Executor is for a Trick Room team for some reason. The Tentacruel evolution, god, I cannot pronounce that name. I guess it's just there to deal with any electric terrain type themes that might want to try and counter it. Arcanine Hisuian. Choice Scarf is definitely an interesting decision, especially, but I guess it's just mainly there to do some chip damage, maybe check some offensive Pokemon. I would maybe consider going Head Smash instead of, Wild Charge or Flare Blast or one of the moves there. Mainly Wild Charge, actually. That move is dog shit. No reason to run that. Might as well just run Head Smash or E-Speed. But Lux's team, you can see here, it's obviously just kind of mainly supporting Mewtwo here. Tauros there is as a backup Choice Scarfing for the last respects that it gets. And then Strange Pixel there is kind of just meant to be a decent supportive offensive threat. It's kind of similar to Fluttermane in the roles it kind of plays there. Though this one is mainly a supportive set, and Strange, Psychic Ritual is a Paradox ability that works in Psychic terrain, only in Psychic terrain. Hypnozoarning is the Eviolite Pokemon of choice. This Pokemon, Eviolite, it's alright. It's not horrible. It's a dark fighting type, but it makes a decent check for, I guess, some Mewtwo's. And I guess it's a coaching Pokemon for the Mewtwo useful support, or just, there for Fake Out, or Parting Shot to pivot out. And Snorlax held there, the Mega Pokemon of choice for this team. It's just kind of there with Refrigerate, Explosion, Gaming. Also interesting thing to know, this Mewtwo is running Double Edge, which honestly is totally fine. VGC, who cares about the recoil, and it becomes a Dragon type with this. And, Self-Destruct for just some decent damage. So, these are pretty interesting teams on both sides. I will say probably the strategy kind of relies on, certain things going specifically well for him. Otherwise, let's go into the first match here. So, starts off with Strange Pixel and Mega Mewtwo here, while Mr. Prime and Arcanine design. So I guess the goal here is for Arcanine to get as much damage, while Mr. Prime, sets up the Psychic terrain. While, Lux's strategy is just to go on the offensive right immediately. Just go on ahead, maybe use Strange Pixel to slow down the enemy team, while his Mega Mewtwo just starts going ham on everything. But luckily here, the Arcanine he's suing is intimidating the Mega Mewtwo, which Lux is a physical attacker, right? So it's a pretty good state, I guess, in a way. One guy's playing kind of offensively from the beginning, the other side is playing more passively, trying to get some setup for the main damager in the back, main restricted. But look at that, at -1, this Mewtwo almost just completely one-shot the Arcanine from that stage, which is kind of crazy, especially if you consider that it was intimidated. Arcanine here, trying to get some Rock Slide chip with the Choice Scarf. Honestly, with the Icy Wind, the +1 speed boost energy, it's just simply not fast enough. Now the Mr. Prime has gotten Psychic terrain up, but at the cost of pretty much his entire life, while the Arcanine just goes down. The Mewtwo is still at -1 attack, and after a partition now, this thing is completely crippled at -2. Friend Guard Clefairy comes out with these Mega Mewtwo, so this is a pretty decent state that's been set up. But you see Hypnozoarning here, who was able to switch in on an Expanding Force, taking nothing, while the Strange Pixel is able to get a Protect here. Now at this stage, I guess kind of your main worry is this Hypno, right? You can touch it with maybe Try Attack, but it kind of takes too many hits, while the Strange Pixel is going to just Icy Wind you, which is kind of the most annoying part here. Because in Mega Mewtwo, like Hell Mega's mirror matchup, what you're caring about here is the speed. Because both Pokemon can practically just explode each other up. And with the speed tie going, you want speed control so importantly in this matchup, which is what Strange Pixel is kind of just like the S tier Pokemon in this matchup here. Because not only does it deal decent damage, it can also taunt stuff, taunt all the supports, and it can also just Icy Wind, slow down stuff. Well, you kind of look at these teams, there's hardly any speed control on that side, and down goes Hypno here, but it doesn't really matter. Their Mewtwo's slower, they had to force to switch it after they don't want it to die. Clefairy, nice Terra there. So this is a good switch here. Actually, I completely forgot that Clefairy had Icy Wind, but actually does have speed control. I will say though, Lux's speed control is kind of better here, as you get to use a fast Pokemon for it. But with the Icy Wind now, he has kind of switched the field here, with now his Mewtwo being able to just come in after Revenge to just outspeed this Mewtwo. Also, Mr. Prime going for fake out there is very silly because like, he kind of forgot his own strategy is based on Psychic Terrain. So now their Mega Mewtwo can come in and it is faster. So it also with Friend Guard, it is now also, you know, bulkier. So you'd have to first take out the Clip Fairy if you want to do anything. But with the Tri Attack, their Mega Mewtwo is down. The Strange Pixel is able to get off the Icy Wind, and this is where the Taurus comes in as just a check for Mewtwo because naturally, actually, Mega Mewtwo A here, I think it's A, does naturally outspeed Choice Scar Tauros. Tauros isn't really that fast of a Pokemon. However, after an Icy Wind speed control, it is for sure slower. And with the last respects, it's not living anything. But Clefairy obviously can follow me, but since it's so low, the Mewtwo is not able to just take out Tauros in one hit, which allows Lux to get their win for game 1. Pretty good stuff. I think it was a pretty close game. Could have gone either way. I will say I really do like Lux's strategy here, and I really do love this mirror matchup. It really makes you consider a lot of things of speed control and just all that good support. And it also makes Tauros kind of shine because as long as you're doing well with speed control, this thing can just come in and start cleaning up late game. Kind of one of Mewtwo's biggest weaknesses, you know, is that psychic typing of it. So, alright, second game here. So, interesting to see, you know, how you would adapt to that. If I was what would be kind of my adaptation? I think my adaptation would maybe to start being more aggressive, possibly consider Executor. I know Executor probably could get taunted, but I guess the interesting thing to consider here is if you can get off the Trick Room, could you possibly take advantage of speed control? Because this Strange Pixel is probably one of the biggest threats right now, is that I guess that boost energy basically outspeeds everything and can easily get that speed control. So if you had some way to deal with that, with like Trick Room, switch things up, would it possibly give you an actual advantage? So you see the lead here, Mr. Prime with the Mewtwo, as so it's a mirror matchup here both ways, which is really interesting to see. You know, both going for that fake out there. Actually, there Mr. Prime is going for a parting shot right away, which is really cool. Didn't go for the fake out, so that was actually pretty interesting because I guess they assumed that like either there's no point. But I don't know what I'm saying. But yeah, Porting Shard is a really good play there because now after Intimidate, that's actually a really good play there. I think that is what the should be taking advantage of. That should be your main strategy, is a cycle of Intimidates and Parting Shots, because even if you know, Lux can protect on maybe some Parting Shots, as long as you can predict that and kind of just cycle in Arcanine, you can kind of chip Mewtwo down to a point where it's just doing less and less damage while your Mewtwo can just start kind of going ham on stuff. But obviously one of the main things to still consider is that Strange Pixel, because you can't follow me the Icy Wind, so it's just maybe getting Mr. Prime in on the right time to fake out. I think the main thing is you cannot set up Psychic Terrain. If you set up Psychic Terrain, then Mr. Prime can't fake out, which is why I kind of think this is kind of an anti-synergy team, because not only do you need to manually set up the Psychic Terrain, you also kind of stop yourself from being able to fake out targets after this. So yeah, going for Arcanine here, it's a self-destruct immediately, which I find very interesting. Half attack and is still able to almost take out both of these. It's really crazy, because if that was no stat drops, that was just one-shotting both of them. Everything on the field, so kind of crazy. So now the main offense here, see Strange Pixel here. Yeah, so Lux has no more Mewtwo. D still has theirs, and they're preserving in the back here. Presumably, you know, they're kind of scared of the Tauros here, and I think Strange Pixel might outspeed. So if they got the Icy Wind, then it would outspeed. So now D's job is to get rid of the Strange Pixel, or just the Tauros. One of them. I guess he only has 2 Pokemon left. But once you get down one of these threats, or maybe slow them down enough, then Mega Mewtwo is able to clean things up here. We see that Icy Wind coming out. It's not a too big deal, but his Tauros is actually locked into Rock Slide here, meaning it won't ever be able to use Last Respects, right? So that's a pretty good sign for D here. Seeing that, this Tauros no longer has a really good way of taking out the Mewtwo, but of course Mewtwo is also not really that healthy. I think what he should maybe be considering here is switching out Mr. Prime. Yeah, because right now you're just sacking it off, but it's kind of useless now. It can't do anything. That's kind of the downside of, not running an offensive attacker now. Now you're facing a 1v2. It's not looking too good. You can't take out both of them at once. You maybe should probably be targeting the Strange Pixel, considering the Tauros is locked into Rock Slide and is doing much less damage. While the Strange Pixel, Sludge Bomb, I guess Sludge Bomb is not crazy amounts of damage, but I don't know. I think at that point you were really screwed. You needed to take down one or the other. So, interesting first game. I know I spent a long time on this game, but let's get on to the next game. Alright, next game here I want to go over is the Sun team versus the Blastoise Prime team. So I actually just came back from the locals VGC tour. I got my ass beat, so maybe I'm not qualified to even talk about VGC stuff, but you know what? Whatever. It's all for the funsies anyways. I'm not a professional. But anyways, let's take a look at the teams actually before we get into this one. So essentially, looking at Nimja Shot's team, it's just your cookie cutter Sun team here, but with an interesting choice of Tauros, Paldean, Blaze. With the choice spam, I actually probably would have gone choice Scarf on it. The Body Slam is also an interesting choice, but I guess it is also one way to fraud out. But normally you'd want choice Scarf on this just because Tauros is actually not really that fast of a Pokemon. Scrappy Kangaskhan Dawn Push is actually quite nice with the fake out. Since with Scrappy, you can probably fake out stuff like Gengar, and I'm trying to think about what other ghost types there. I guess maybe other Kangaskhan's, but you got the cookie cutter Charizard, Mega Charizard Y, which is still very common in champions today. Very stupid Pokemon. Luckily there's no rain team, so it doesn't even need to run Hurricane. It's running Heat Wave, Air Slash, Scorching Sands. I think I probably would have run Solar Beam on it, but what do I know, right? And he's building his team around Venusaur Prime here, obviously, as is restricted, with the Chlorophyll to make use of the sun to go a lot faster, and Life Orb, Fire, Terra Fire, you got the Weather Ball, Giga Drain, Sleep Powder. I guess this is actually more of a supportive bulky Venusaur set. I guess because I'm thinking the main offense here might just be Charizard, maybe Tauros here. Considering it seems like, well, actually this is kind of weird because Venusaur Prime here, you see it's running the Life Orb, Chlorophyll. You can clearly tell this is kind of built around offense with also the Terra Fire as well. But then you got moves like Sleep Powder, Giga Drain. It kind of makes it seems there's a bit of mixed conflict in between on that set there. Clefairy obviously for the support, Aerodactyl there for Tailwind. Nothing to really say about that. Yeah, interesting stuff. Gerwini's team, it's kind of funny. So Gerwini thought that No Guard basically worked as long as there's a Pokemon No Guard on the field. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, this special looking Gyarados looks a little interesting, right? So this is Mega Gyarados Y. Mega Gyarados Y is a new Mega Gyarados that I've added onto our server. It turns Gyarados into a special attacker with No Guard. Essentially, this is a Gen 1 Pokemon, gets a lot of crazy special attacks, like Blizzard, Hydro Pump, Thunder, and Zap Cannon. So that's why I thought, hey, we can make a special attacking variant of it instead of just trying to build up on the Dragonets inside of it. So Gerwini thought this would make his whole team have, guaranteed hitting moves. So you can see Fissure on his restricted Blastoise Prime running the Assault Vest with Fake Out Aqua Jet, Bottles, and Fissure. Very interesting set. You got the Kangaskhan, good support, Lapras, the Blunder Policy Sheer Code, which is very interesting. If this team wasn't kind of just built around the No Guard, Sheer Code and Blunder Policy actually is kind of a fire combo, I'm not gonna lie. But with Ice Shard as your only other attacking move, it's a bit interesting, Wide Guard Aerodactyl is actually pretty cool since if you get the idea that a bunch of people do tend to run spread moves like Rock Slide, Aerodactyl, Heat Wave, Charizard, Matra Gotcha, Venusaur, maybe some Dazzling Gleamers out there. So yeah, running Wide Guard is actually kind of interesting. And then Dragonite, running the Tailwind, of course, and then with Horn Drill. These Oko moves that, oh, I guess it's also Fissure and Kangaskhan, very funny. Also, another thing to know is that Gerwini forgot to set their Terror types when submitting their teams, meaning nothing on their team has like a different Terror type. It's all the default ones, but you know, it can work. This isn't like a actually serious tournaments. Basically, no one has any experience, so it means nothing to make silly mistakes like that. But anyways, let's go into game 1. The Lucida to lead a Venusaur, Charizard, very, you know, typical leads here, with Aerodactyl, Blastoise here. Now, I guess, looking at the leads here, there's nothing to say about Nimja's. It's kind of just a calming lead as well. You get that Sun Up. Venusaur can just start going crazy though. You know that Blastoise will probably fake out something. I would fake out Venusaur here as the Aerodactyl either sets up Tailwind or goes for Rock Slide, because, you know, this Charizard is vulnerable. If I was Nimja, I would just protect here and then try and... I would maybe double protect here actually after a Mega. But who knows? We'll see what he goes for. Here, there is one protect here. Yeah, Venusaur gets faked out. I figured that would happen, so... Yeah, there's a Tailwind coming up here. So now you gotta need to get that out of there. Here comes the Rock Slide. You get a Friend Guard boost here as Venusaur starts going for the Giga Drain. But this Blastoise is a Assault Vest, so it does tank that really well. Here comes the first Fissure Miss. Follow Me is going in. Oh, there's the Taunt, but... Ooh, and there's the Sleep Powder. Okay, with that, Blastoise, no more threat of Fissures, but here comes the Rock Slide, flinches. Missed one. Does it get under Clefairy? I don't. Does this Clefairy? It has Nitro. Okay, it's able to take out Blastoise here. It's pretty nice. This Dragonite here only has extreme speed and Horn Drill. Okay, miss of the Sleep Powder. It's a bit unlucky. But the Horn Drill is missing, and kind of the only attack move here is Rock Slide, right? So there's really not much huge damage when a lot of your main damage kind of relies on landing Oko moves. So if you don't land them, nothing really happens. So back was Charizard to get that Chlorophyll boost, as his Venusaur can just spam Giga Drain. Like, honestly, if you're gonna run Life Orb and Grass Type, this thing gets Monster Gotcha. You might use Mantra Gotcha. I guess without Mantra Gotcha, maybe Giga Drain's totally fine. Like, I don't know. Maybe Energy Ball is good for damage if you're gonna use this offensively, but I guess Giga Drain for the healing is good. You know, but yeah, you gotta utilize Mantra Gotcha, right? That move is so OP. There's a flinch. The Gyarados goes for Protect here. It goes for Endure, but I guess you're right. You know, you cannot click Endure after clicking Protect. This is some of those moves that can't be used in succession. So down goes that. The sun is up, so as long as Venusaur takes out Aerodactyl, but it is asleep. Okay, so it doesn't matter. Oh, the Horn Drill lands. Venusaur goes down. Okay, that's a restricted down from a Horn Drill. But Aerodactyl goes down. There's only Dragonite left. You can't really do anything, so it's kind of over. So, especially since it's Kangaskhan can just fake out, and that's game 1 over. Now we're on game 2. I want to say, like, what? It's kind of hard for Gerwini because Gerwini's whole team kind of falls and relies on the whole fact that the false assumption that No Guard would work on their Oko moves, but it would only work if Gyarados had an Oko move. So Nimja kind of just has the upper hand here. The only way Gerwini can really win is just getting those Oko moves landed. And 30%, you know. It is technically possible, but it's not easy, so... so you see, I think it's the same leads of Aerodactyl Blastoise as Nimja leads of Kangaskhan Aerodactyl here. Using the Terran Aerodactyl, interesting. Okay, so this is a Tailwind fight here. Oh, the fake out into Taunt with the Terra Ghost. That's actually a very cool play there, actually. You get to stop the Aerodactyl from Tailwinding and then taunting it while... Yeah, okay, that's really neat. You know what? Maybe Nimja isn't as horrible as I like to make him out for. Okay, that was bold. Yeah, okay. I guess you had to Tailwind up, but if you missed that Rock Slide, you might have just lost your Charizard there on the spot. Okay, so Lapras is using the Terra to get rid of its rock weakness. That's not a bad idea. Okay. Oh, because Fissure. Okay.
was gonna say, well, Fissure can work in Aerodactylus as it is. Terra Ghost now. That's why I kind of like Terra. Changes. Oh my god, in the Fissure lands. That is 2 Oko moves lended. Well, actually, that's in 2 different games, huh? Okay, so his Blastoise is getting chipped down. Heat Wave misses. Imagine if you ran Solar Beam here, that would just get the KO here, but I guess it doesn't really matter. That's Gerwini's restricted down. So Nimja still has this very powerful Venusaur Prime still going. Oh, there's the miss on Sheer Cold. It did not trigger the Blunder Policy, actually. That's interesting. Why did the Blunder Policy not trigger? Because Lapras is running that, right? So, does it not work on Oko moves? Oh, wow, it doesn't work with Oko moves. That is crazy. So there's a whole bunch of anti-synergy on Gerwini's team, but that is kind of just a little misunderstanding of how some mechanics work, but I don't blame them. VGC is not often played, so getting the chance to use Oko moves, it's very rare, so a lot of these interactions that you would normally not use in a single battle being tried out first time in double battle, you know. Understandable. No doubt, as long as they had fun with their team. So with that, Nimja is able to secure the win. Okay, I kind of can't ignore this forever, so I might as well get into it. I hate Shaw's team very much. There is many bad things I can say about it. So Shaw here is probably the only VGC player in this entire tournament. And he realized the little stupid thing I thought wasn't going to be much of an issue. He found it and knew that is an issue to use, so he's using it. So yeah, let's just take a look at Shaw's team here, and essentially he's running that Machamp Staller. So normally people build around a restricted. He built around the OP Fissure No Guard that I allowed with Machamp Stellar, which is just a special variant of Machamp. There's really no much difference other than it having the Psychic typing as an extra typing on it, and it gets a bit more Psychic moves. But overall, the only big difference other than typing is probably Trick Room. That it's really gonna matter for this tournament. And you got the OP Fantastic Friends. I think Machamp Stellar would probably not work without this Pokemon actually. So this is your Trick Room setter. Since Machamp is kind of a slow Pokemon, Fantastic Friends gets to abuse that with Trick Room, and with Instruct you can make it so Machamp can't only kill 1 Pokemon per turn. You can actually kill 2 Pokemon per turn if you run Instruct. And then just Shadow Ball Instruct, so to just do a bit of chip damage. You know, you can never be too unprepared for them taunts coming. And then you got Venusaur Prime. Normally you would build around this, but instead Venusaur Prime is built around supporting I guess the idea of stall. So it's not really built around Machamp in a way, I guess. No, it is. Machamp Stellar is kind of your main damage, while Venusaur Prime is part of his stall team. Yeah, if you haven't kind of understood, his whole team is playing stall and then having Machamp just one-shot everything, because there's no reason to deal damage if you have a Pokemon that can just one-shot everything, right? So this Venusaur Prime is running you know, the Sappy Seed with Grassy Surge, Grassy Seed, so it's getting more bulk on just switching and getting healing every turn. Sappy Seed sets up Leech Seed, so it's getting more healing from Leech Seeds. Mantra Gotcha also gives healing for amount of damage, and this thing has boosted stats, so it's dealing more damage. And Malignant Chain, you can also get some poisoning out. Very evil stuff. And then you got the Tentacle Revolution here, who with Lightning Rod basically negates every single Electric Terrain team. Like, no joke, there's nothing an Electric Terrain team can do as long as this thing is alive. You had to take this out, or else you just lose against it. Arcanine Mega Arcanine Hitswing is a new Mega Pokemon, obviously. We have here for specifically just a Hitswing Arcanine. This thing has Solid Rock on evolution, just makes it a bit bulkier. It becomes a Fire Dragon type. It kind of uses the thing, of course, just as a rock slide support, since it is relatively fast at 130 base speed, I'm pretty sure. Or 125, might be something like that. It is still pretty fast, and with Morning Sun, you can just keep yourself alive, Solid Rock. And then obviously Clefairy is just for Friend Guard, Life Do, Follow Me, you know, support. And then we look at Liviifailure's team. So Liviifailure is running a Jolteon Prime team actually, with the Mega Raichu X that has Electric Surge. It's a weird Pokemon because it just doesn't have enough speed to make use of, I guess, good offense, right? 110 speed is honestly really diabolical. And but okay, pre-Mega you get to use Lightning Rod to counter and maybe possibly other Electric Drain teams. Now what's interesting about Jolteon Prime here, it is actually running, not only is it running Rising Voltage, it is also running Discharge. So Discharge, yeah, it hits allies, but more importantly, it isn't stopped by Lightning Rod. So if Shaw is running the Tentacle Revolution with another Pokemon, the Discharge can actually hit the other Pokemon, even with Lightning Rod, but it will still be boosting the Tentacle Revolution's Lightning Rod, but not too big of a deal. And a Weather Ball, because there is Ninetales of Lowling, basically gives it Bullpen coverage with no retreat. If you want to just go all in on the offense. The Throat Spray, I'm not too sure that works with anything on their team, unless I'm mistaken about one of the other moves, so I'm not sure why that's there unless I made a typo. And then you got Gengar here for Skill Swap, actually is an interesting thing. So it's actually really good for Machamps here, right? If you want to take off the No Guard so it can't abuse its features, that's actually an option there. Ninetales can get Aurora Veil. Mr. Prime there is good for Fake Out, Follow Me support, and you got the Arcanine here saying non-Mega here for Intimidate bulky support with Will-O-Wisp. Quite interesting. So all I'm gonna say, I think the amount of time I spent discussing your teams is probably going to be longer than the actual fights themselves. So let's go into the games. You got Machamp, you got Fantastic Friends with Gengar, Mr. Prime. So I think give us your Gengar here is, yes, gonna skill swap. That is exactly what I think is the best way to deal with this team at all. As Hyper Voice comes out, and Fissure goes into the break, not too impactful as now it's a 30% chance. Sorry about that, I just finished in her, so. Okay, but Machamp here still can land Rock Slide, and under the Trick Room it is actually the fastest, or one of the fastest thing. Yeah, so it can still land double Rock Slides as long as you don't miss. It's basically the same as No Guard. Mr. Prime is quite a fast Pokemon, so it is running Foul Play, but it's actually doing really little damage to this Machamp. I guess Machamp might not be running too much attack, considering it doesn't need to as long as it just lands Fissure, as the Rock Slide just takes out Ninetales through the Terrestrialization. Gengar comes out here, well, okay, as Jolteon Prime goes straight onto the offense here, under Protect. But as long as that Trick Room comes, Jolteon, yeah, is no longer the fastest thing anymore. But Shadow Ball does kind of pathetic chip, but with Rock Slides here, you get to go for the flinches. As that doesn't happen, as Livy takes out the own Gengar, paralyzes the Machamp, and does really little damage to Fantastic Friends, because that thing just kind of has insane bulk that just tank everything. Oh wow, and it breaks through again. Through it, but the Trick Room is really gonna hurt it, yeah. See, as they can just kind of both double up on it, and there comes the Mortal Spin, which also doesn't get the poison, because once that thing gets a poison, it's already over. But at this point, there's probably nothing much it can do. With no Snow Up, you can't Weather Ball, so even without the Tentacle Revolution, as long as Venusaur is there and you don't have Ninetales alive, with the snow, there's just no way to win this one. I will say, because the Electric Terrain team has a horrible matchup into the Tentacle Revolution and even Venusaur in this sort of case where your best way to hit it is with Weather Ball. So game 2, we see the same leads from Shaw here as we see a different leads. I will say this is interesting because I still think you need Gengar, because Gengar is like the counter to the Fissure thing, right? With the skill swap, an interesting move here that just completely kind of stops the Fissure side of it, makes it slightly easier to play around things. As okay, so Fantastic Friends is Terra Ground here, which makes it even more unplayable. Because now you can't do any damage to it until you bring out Ninetales. So if you didn't bring Ninetales, this game just over. And now it's too late to bring in Gengar. Because now Trick Room is up. Yeah, there comes Fissure. Yeah, this is just unplayable now. The Ninetales came a little too late. Well, I mean, not really, I guess. I think it's more just Gengar came out way too late. You really needed to click that skill swap in order to have a slim chance at all. I would have even considered a possibility of not bringing Raichu here at all. But just like that, in 4 turns, this game's just over. Kind of a crazy way to end this one, but that is kind of just the unfortunate result of running an electric terrain team into a meta that has Venusaur Prime at the top and also the Tentacruel evolution. But well, the next time we have this tournament, Tentacruel evolution is slightly nerfed. Might actually not have a huge the nerf might not actually have a huge impact in VGC, but that's something we'll have to see like many months later. But yeah, disgusting game. We'll move on to something more interesting after this, I guess. Okay, so now that I remember NottaDoc's team, this guy actually kind of ran a really funny team. So essentially, when I was first testing out the Gen 1 VGC like possible teams, I saw, you know, Screamtail Prime, and I remembered lovely VGC, you know, his lovely Perish Trap shenanigans with Screamtail, right? With Perishong, you know, all that stuff. So I figured, hey, you know, this could probably be insanely good, this strategy in this tournament, but unfortunately, I'm not Wolfie VGC, so I cannot pull off the same level of stuff he can. So anyways, this battle is between NottaDoc and Polar. Now let's take a look at NottaDoc's team here. As I've already mentioned a little bit about the Perish Trap set. Yes, this guy is the only guy running a Perish Trap team in this tournament with Screamtail Prime. You know, a super buff version of Screamtail with Unaware, so it is quite crazy. So to support something like this, you got Ninetales Alolan with the Warville, obviously. Screamtail Prime is running Sparkly Swirl. If I remember correctly, that's the one that cures status conditions. So you can't even Toxic Screamtail here. The Terra Ground, I guess, is to prevent electric terrain teams. Everyone, I don't know, for some reason was really scared about electric terrain teams after I announced it. And also with like the Zap Guard stuff, Zap Cannon stuff, it's like, what are we worried about, guys? This thing is kind of completely cooked by the Tentacruel evolution. And then you got the Perishong, a double Perishong here with Mega Gengar here with Disable. I would probably run Calm Mind on the Screamtail Prime, but whatever. You got the combo here. Quite an interesting Evo Duo. And then you got Mr. Prime here for support on Wide Guard, Parting Shot, Follow Me, Fake Out. You got the bulky Gyarados here. The old classic T-Wave set. I don't think it's classic. I have no idea. I've never played back in the days. I don't know why I said classic. And then you got the Tentacruel evolution, who's running Road Chop for, once again, for the Jolteon Prime team to cuck its Hyper Voice and I guess Mega Jolteon. So it's kind of hilarious. Everyone's prepping pretty hard for that, when I think just having this thing, just the Tentacruel evolution on your team, guarantees you to win. Now let's look at Polar's team. Polar is running a Sun team. But instead of running Venusaur Prime, they are running Screamtail Prime. So this is a mirror restricted matchup here with Mega Charizard Y with the good old Weather Ball, Heat Wave, Solar Beam. With the Screamtail Prime on the, this is more of a supported set kind of thing here with Photosynthesis for speed, which is what I think is the better set, and VGC. So you got Glitzy Glitz to set up screens while Sparkly Swirl to set up or to cure statuses. You got Venusaur here just for kind of damage and whatnot. Whew, okay. With Terra Stella here, which is actually pretty interesting. And then you got Blastoise, so we got all 3 starters, which is pretty cute. You got the Blastoise, Terra Ghost, they can't get faked out, and you got Fake Out Follow Me on this. This is kind of interesting that this thing actually gets that. It's pretty cool. With Scald for burn support. Gengar King Boo with the Sash to set up Trick Room, which is pretty interesting. I guess it's in the case where if you think the opponent is very much going to outspeed you, even with all your support, you run Trick Room, but otherwise, I don't think it's going to be too common of a move click. And then Taunt is good stuff, and then you got Mega Snorlax Hell here with Earthquake, Ice Spinner, Headlong Rush, and Bulk. That is kind of an interesting mega for this tournament, but I guess, well, it's pre-mega, has Stick Fat. The Mega Evolution has Sheer Force, so it's an interesting one. I don't know if this is better than base normal vanilla Snorlax, but who knows? Let's go into the match, you know? So we're seeing, okay, Mega Gengar Screamtail Prime lead with the Charizard Venusaur lead here. Yeah, well, the Venusaur is probably gonna outspeed. Oh yes, and this is unaware Screamtail. It's not gonna it's not gonna be boosted by speed. There's the Perish song coming up. I'm not too big of a fan of this strategy when there's a lot of super strong offensive threats here. But you can get rid of the snow with that, and you can disable Earth Power here. Weather Ball Fire becomes Weather Ball Ice and dealing a lot less damage to Ninetales here. As Parashon counts down here, and then you got the Protect here. And with the War Veil, Ninetales is living. And now, all Gengar needs to do is just switch out and not be punished for the switches. And then this is pretty much a good heist here. The Blizzard's not mattering too much, since they're all gonna die anyways. A lot of Ninetales goes down, but it's not a big deal because now with Mega Charizard Y down, there's no Sunsetter here. So now if you're taking that 2 Pokemon, I guess you can still run Parashon because as long as you live to the end of the 3 turns, you win. There's only 2 Pokemon left. There's no switching out anyways. So Sun Up Calm Mind there is definitely a choice of all time. Yep, because there's Parasong. And now you have a timer, and since this Calm Mind, you're setting up a sweep, but at this point, you have no chance of setting a sweep. There's 3 Pokemon you need to take out, and they have Protects. And Blastoise is not doing any damage at all, and Screamtail Prime doesn't really have too much offensive stats, at least enough to just threaten an Oko from full health, even at +1, and then with the Glitzy Glow getting blocked by Mr. Prime here, it's kind of a horrible situation. More like I'd say in a absolute cook situation. It's an impossible situation to come back from. So NottaDoc takes game 1 with a beautiful, beautiful Perish Trap combo, mimicking Wolfie VGC and making it work. Ain't that crazy? Now game 2, how does Polar come back from this? So essentially, NottaDoc's main strategy is obviously making use of Screamtail's bulk and then also setting up the Perish Song. As long as they can keep Gengar alive, it's pretty good. And if you can contain speed control using a Alolan Ninetales, you can prevent this Sun Chlorophyll boost. Mega Gengar is naturally extremely fast, so with Disable, you can obviously scout on move. So how does Polar, adapt to this is an interesting strategy thing, part of VGC. If you're a VGC player, this would be the type of moment where you're trying to think okay, I've been kind of cooked by this strategy. What is a way to bypass some of these incredibly difficult and scary threats, right? So Mr. Prime is coming out here instead of Screamtail, which is very interesting considering Polar actually left with the same leads here. So now what does Mr. Prime here do? I think Mr. Prime would just switch into a Alolan Ninetales here. With Parting Shot, you're lowering the stats, and now you're going into Ninetales. So now you can click. Oh, you're clicking Perish Song instead of Disable. So now this Venusaur might actually be able to. Oh, but it goes for Ninetales instead of Gengar. Well, I think that was an interesting idea. I don't know if Earth Power would have killed. Definitely not, actually. But now this Gengar is kind of your death, because Shadow Tag, you're not getting out of there. You have no way of killing this stuff. There's Wide Guard, so now you can't Heat Wave, and now Earth Power is disabled. It's GG. Those 2 mons are dead. Your main offense, your main strategy is now cooked, and you didn't even need Screamtail Prime for this. I mean, Mr. Prime was actually extremely OP, so I guess he didn't really need it. So, yeah, with that, now you can switch into Screamtail with another Wide Guard. I think it's a back-to-back, right? It's a 50-50 kind. Either way, it didn't matter if Mr. Prime got knocked out or not. Since you taking down their main offenses, how is Polar going to come back from this, right? You could probably try and set up with Screamtail here, but as long as NottaDoc Screamtail Prime clicks Parashon, it's GG. I guess also Polar just brought in the same 4 Pokemon for this. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, with Parting Shot now, you canceled out their stat boost. There's a Screamtail Prime and Gengar here. As long as the Parashon comes out, the game is over. And there it is. There's the Parashon. Now everything is on a timer. So now, if Polar is unable to just take down 3 Pokemon within 2 turns, it's kind of just over. But as NottaDoc Screamtail Prime sets up, you know, them Calm Minds, it's even worse. And Gekko gets to disable Polar Screamtail Prime, so now you have less tools to actually kill Pokemon. You're doing 4% here. Setting up screens means nothing. You're perishing in one more turn. There's nothing you can do anymore. The game is just over. While, yeah, NottaDoc, doesn't matter if these two Pokemon even fall this turn. And with that, NottaDoc is able to secure a 2-0 victory. GG's, Wolfie. Alright, another funny match I wanted to show off here is between King Switch versus Gekko. So essentially, King Switch here, let's look at their team. They are running a Jolteon Prime set, setting themselves up for failure because this Pokemon is dog ass in this meta. So essentially, yeah, we got the classic El Clasico Jolteon Prime with Throat Spray with Hyper Voice to boost that special attack, and then we're running No Treat, Thunderbolt, and Volt Switch. So with Volt Switch, obviously, it means you can't be trapped by No Retreat, but at the same time, it's a funny anti-synergy. Because normally you're getting the Omni Boost for a good cause. So switching it out and losing that boost is it's something you really gotta commit to. So all you really got here is Thunderbolt Hyper Voice, which thankfully his opponent Gekko doesn't have the Tentacle Evolution, otherwise he would have lost on the spot. But to support this thing is actually you have Snorlax as, I guess, kind of one of the main other offensive Pokemon here, with Headlong Rush, Icicle Crash, Heavy Slam, Rock Slide, with Declare Amulet, so that Intimidates will not stop it from dealing a more billion damage. Aerodactyl for the Tailwind support, Mega Kangaskhan here. It's, well, the first one we're going to show, first one and probably the only one. No, it might not be the only one. I actually don't think it is, but it's the first one you're going to see of Mega Kangaskhan. Very OP Pokemon Gen 6, you know, with the pre-nerfed, parental bond, but this one, even when nerfed, as long as it has seismic toss, it's still dealing a crap ton of damage. You got Assault Vest Arcanine here running Snarl and Extreme Speed, and then obviously the Clefairy for good support. And now Gekko's team is it's a troll team. He's kind of cooking something. I'm pretty sure he's well aware this is not good for VGC. After being slightly peer pressured into using a Beedrill, so he has Focus as Beedrill Paper Bender. This is a special form of Beedrill that just makes it Bug Fairy. There's no difference about it. It gets some Fairy moves and Sharpness. Otherwise, it's still a Beedrill at the end of the day. It's their Tailwind support with Endeavor. And then, main restricted is actually Mew 1. Now, Mew 1 here, I mentioned it before at the start, it's incredibly overpowered, just mainly on how bulky it is, right? But the problem, I guess, you gotta consider is, yeah, it's incredibly bulky, but as long as you're able to win it in a 2v1, just take out the rest of the team, right? I guess the main issue in this case is that it can set up here with Calm Minds. I guess the fact that it has no barrier does also kind of hinder it in a way. But if it did have barrier and no moves to actually hit dark types, it would have just instant loss and wouldn't be enough. This one's running Aura Sphere with the Store Power Calm Mind thing. With Magic Guard, you can't Toxic it at all. You got Mega Alakazam here, the first and only one in the tournament here that is running Manual Psychic Terrain with Expanding Force. So if there's a dark type, yeah, this thing can't do anything. And it's a really fast Pokemon, so I guess with Encore it can do something. I guess it could be kind of cool with Trace, but there's nothing really crazy it's tracing. Strange Pixel here is good for speed support. Of course, this one's running a Citrus Berry, so I guess it's supposed to take hits. Strange Missile running Assault Vest here. Strange Missile is a Paradox version of Dragonite, which is incredibly fast. I think the speed probably rivals Dragapult here. So it's running Brave Bird, Thunder Punch, Extreme Speed, U-Turn, and then you have Sash, Focus Sash, Mr. Prime, which is the choice of all time because considering this is actually a really bulky Pokemon. So the only time you're running this Sash is doing something is when you're already in a horrible spot where everything's getting one shot. Otherwise, it's kind of a silly item. But you know what? No hate to Gekko. He's a funny guy. You know what? This is a funny team, so let's just watch and see how he does with this one. So yeah, there's a strange pixel here, but you gotta click protect here, otherwise you're about to get faked out to oblivion, but it doesn't, so it takes about 40% from that, and then here comes a tailwind, I assume, yep. And then encore, ooh, so predicting tailwind gets encore, but still, hey, there's a tailwind. But not that, yeah. The Alakazam needs to come out as the seismic talk comes in, knocking this down to 20%. Oh, but it's that's something you don't really care about being encored into, though. As a huge Flare Blitz comes out, doing quite a lot of damage there. Seismic Charge trying to finish out the Beedrill, but it's unable to, as the Sludge Bomb does a lot of damage to Arcanine. The Beedrill just goes down to a crunch there. Okay, that's the most it's gonna do. Foreshadowing incoming. Oh, the Strange Pixel lives on 1% to take out the Arcanine here, as Mega Alakazam comes back. But this thing is already incredibly low. I guess Sucker Punch is not doing anything. With that, oh yeah, okay, the Encore is not gonna do anything on Aerodactyl when it hasn't attacked the move yet. With that, 2 Pokemon are done. There's only V1 left. Now let's see here. Look at that dual Wing Beat from Aerodactyl does 19% to V1. If it wasn't for Seismic Toss doing 38% each turn, this V1 would be unstoppable. But even then, you need a second Pokemon. Otherwise, this thing could just recover infinitely and just win. It's only because there's enough support to help with the Seismic Toss damage. It's able to out damage to recover barely and win the match. But honestly, this shows that possibly without Mega Kangaskhan, V1 potentially might be an unstoppable force. As like also with Fissure. If you take out Fissure, take out Mega Kangaskhan, I think this thing might actually be unstoppable. But looking at game 2, I think what Gekko needs to realize is that V1 is overpowered and he just wins as long as he takes out Mega Kangaskhan. So there's your win con. Take out Mega Kangaskhan, then boom, V1 can probably just win the entire game. Actually, not even probably, guaranteed. Like, I'm almost completely sure V1 can actually kind of carry you as long as you take out the Seismic Toss damage. I guess the other way you could technically lose is, yeah, Mega Kangaskhan is still a big issue. Okay, so with the follow me here with Flare Blitz, there comes a Tailwind, but it's going on both sides, not a big deal. Here, as Rock Slide comes in, doing good chip to Strange Missile. There's screen support with Reflect, that's awesome. Oh, the burn and Flare Blitz is really huge, because now Strange Missile is now kind of just cooked there. Yeah, with the Dual Wing Beat, that's gone. Thunder Punch is unable to kill because of that, and with Snarl, that's out. That's 2 Pokemon down right up the beginning. There comes in V1, and since there's no Mega Kangaskhan out here, I can technically just start ripping those combines and start setting up. Because I guess if you can just take out Kangaskhan, then it's not a big deal. Oh, there comes the weakness policy after the Snarl. So now you've also just boosted the V1 to make Stored Power do more damage. And with that, now you just gotta hurry up and take out the V1 as soon as possible. Snarl comes in here to chip down the V1's special attack while also trying to chip down the Speed Drill that Terra. But yeah, with Endeavor, you realize you might have messed up here. You might have just actually Beedrill might have actually completely won you the game here, because it's not being one shot here. And with Endeavor, you can bring this Kangaskhan down low enough so that maybe V1 can take it out. Just chip down everything with Endeavor, and you see here that the V1's taking quite literally no damage here, and it's freely recovering. And now the Beedrill gets to Endeavor, completely destroying this Jolteon Prime's health here. And now as long as one attack can come out from this V1, this Jolteon Prime stat boost means nothing as long as it's dead, right? But of course you gotta hope you can get that recover damage back. Yeah, see, even got a +1 Thunderbolt, and with that Flare Blitz, it's not enough to just take out V1 here. Arcanine going for the Terra here, actually, so to get more damage to the Flare Blitz. Oh, but it might actually be enough. It might add up. And with that, recover damage. And now with Mega Kangaskhan, it actually is probably enough here. So you got Fake Eye do a lot of damage to Thunderbolt, and now needs to be able to take one more hit here, which is unable to, as the Jolteon is able to just finish that off. And with that, King Switch is able to take the game there. Actually quite a close game, considering that Gekko's kind of a troll team, but that troll team actually has some decent synergy, which I would love to see actually in maybe a future game, is seeing Yeah, and it doesn't have to be Beedra Paper Bender, but the fact that Endeavor actually kind of put in so much work there. But I think the next time this tournament is even going to happen for Gen 1, I think Mew 1 will be considerably nerfed enough so that it doesn't leave this much of an impact to the point where it's hardly killable, right? But yeah, we'll see. And let's move on to the next game. So now we're going over the fourth place. Well, I guess it's the final match of the losers bracket against NottaDoc and the Shadowian. So, how did they lose with their OP teams? Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to wait until I go over the finals game. But so what we're looking at here is we have a Perish Trap team with a no guard fissure team. I'm sure you guys can already take a nice little guess on probably who has the advantage here, right? We got one guy whose whole strategy is relying on staying alive, and the other guy's strategy whose whole strategy is I get to one-shot everything. I just need to keep this one guy alive and make sure they go first, you know? It's kind of a hopeless uphill battle, but let's see how the battles actually take place, right? If this thing will load. Right, so there's the obvious Machamp Fantastic Friends lead. We were seeing a Gyarados Tentacle Revolution lead. Very interesting decision here. I think it's because one of them has Taunt, if I remember correctly. Oh, with Terra Flying. Oh, neat. Yeah, there's a Taunt. Stop that. And yeah, both of them are flying, so they can't get fissured. Very interesting here, but the Machamp does have no guard Rock Slide. But there's also one problem is that the Shadowians restricted his Venusaur Prime here. This is technically still the elephant of the room, right? It is still a very strong Pokemon. It's not something you can exactly ignore. So maybe you maybe you like played around trying to beat this Machamp Stellar and Fantastic Friends combo, but you still had to be able to break the Venusaur Prime here. As Mega Arcanine comes out here, Sappy Seed or Sparkly Swirl comes in, Malignant Chain is coming in, doing really good damage to Screamtail Prime. And it's really hard to get these Perish songs off here, I guess. Considering you got these two supposedly bulky Pokemon that's also still doing crazy amounts of damage here. And as long as this Gyarados doesn't die, you can't really safely get a Mega Gengar here. Well, actually, there we go. With the leech seed, it is gone. So with this, yeah, you can try and go off for the Perish song, but the Screamtail is taking a... Yeah, there's the Flare Blitz. Shaw kind of predicts it, kind of understands what NottaDoc does with the strategy here. Since Gengar is frail, usually Screamtail is the one that goes for Perish song here, so you can just double up and take it out with Malignant Chain. Flare Blitz combo here. So now, I guess Gengar has gotten the Perish song out. Actually, the Screamtail did get the Perish song, but it is down, so that's kind of an issue. I guess they can also just double up and take it out. Take one to Pokemon out in the first place. With this, you can kind of take them out. Sappy Seed is disabled, which is pretty awesome, but this Venusaur is still doing a lot of damage here. Disable Shadow Ball, but I'm pretty sure what you want to disable is maybe Trick Room, even though it's really hard to do that. The Gengar kind of just follows there, dies to the Perish song. Yeah, and the problem is, yeah, you can't do anything against the Rock Slide there, so it was a really good shot here. They've honestly dealt with the combo pretty well. Not a single fissure came out from Shaw. The kind of issue is, in this case, in this battle, is that, yeah, sure, you don't have to worry about this strat after dealing with it pretty specifically. But now how are you going to deal with the Venusaur Prime Bulk, right? That is something that also is really difficult to break through. You had to have enough damage. I guess one way to deal with that is to just not deal with it and just Perish Trap kill it. So now you get a balance between Perish Trapping while also not just dropping to these two threats. So now in game 2, I wonder how NottaDoc... I feel like NottaDoc's way of winning this is just getting the leads correct and possibly making some good plays to be able to shift to a second strategy once Venusaur Prime comes out. Because you got two, it's like a boss fight, right? You got two different phases here. You have to just, phase 1, deal with the Fantastic Friends Machamp Stellar Fissure combo. You deal with that. Once the Venusaur comes in, now you're on to phase 2 of the boss. So you got to somehow pivot into a different strategy and Perish Trap them. And then what happens if both strategies come into place at the same time? It's GG. You're fighting two phases of the boss at once, right? So it's kind of difficult. This is probably a very slim chance of NottaDoc being able to win this with the right plays and lucky switches, plays, and whatnot. But honestly, still an uphill battle, just like I thought before. So let's get into this match. We're seeing the Mega Arcanine Venusaur Prime Leaf, as Shaw saw that NottaDoc really wants to counter that, but as long as you just don't use it, the countering can't really counter anything. So there's the Perish Trap coming in with the Fake Out support. Okay, but Perish Trap is coming in, so even if Gengar protects, it's going to be taking chip, but the Grassy Terrain does heal it up. So is that enough chip? It probably is, considering the Sappy Seed is already good enough damage. But a Parting Shot comes in, is able to chip these guns down very low, as Mega Arcanine gets a crucial burn on the Gyarados here. Actually, that's kind of a big deal, as Shaw actually doubles up on the non-Mega Gengar side because he knows he's going for Protect. I think what basically NottaDoc has to do here is go for a double Protect. I think if he gets a double Protect, he just kind of wins off of it. Well, he doesn't just win off of it, but he's able to take down both Pokemon. That is a huge dodge here, but Mega Arcanine, it doesn't do anything. So, I mean, it guys went for the Rock Slide. So he's able to get the Perish Trapping here. So with that, it's going to be pretty awesome, as he switches out trying to keep him alive, which is actually, I wonder if actually the crucial plan or crucial strategy might have been to actually let it die. You gotta say a switch. I think you may need I think you needed the Tentacle Evolution here, because I think otherwise Trick Room is coming up, and I think now you've put yourself into a really bad situation. And now it might be impossible to win, because now Gyarados comes in, the Trick Room is up, and more importantly, Shaw has speed control here. Yeah, and there's just no way of winning with this scenario. But hey, it was a good try. I think he started off really well. The one main thing is I would have maybe considered bringing the Tentacle Evolution somehow into this. You just need to also be able to have good taunt support. It's really hard. You just got to be able to understand when's the right situation to pivot into. Because in this case, Shaw started off with phase 1, phase 2 of the boss fight. So now, once you deal with phase 2, phase 1 is the scarier phase. So you need to be able to be ready immediately for phase 1 of this boss fight. And that's kind of what didn't happen in this case. Not kind of shooting on NottaDoc here. I think he did amazing. I have no complaints. If I was in this situation, I don't think I would have been able to overcome this incredibly scary threat. But hey, let's move on to finals. Alright everyone, after finishing the Gen 2 VGC tour, I'm back to talk about the finals of the Gen 1 tour. So, I actually haven't showed any games from Dark yet. So Dark is quite literally our dark horse of this tournament. Well, in a non-disrespectful way, because they also ran the Fissure No Guard Machamp, and because of that, no respect, boo. So let's look at Dark's team, right? Since we haven't done that yet. So Dark built his team around Squirting Tail Prime, with the Unaware setup set that some people for some reason like to go. I guess it's a good set because just in general, Scream Token just kind of sweeps some prep. But well, if you're doing setup with Unaware, and if your opponents also have an Unaware, no, nothing happens. You got support Arcanine here with the Will-O-Wisp Flare Blitz, the obvious trick or the Machamp seller here. But this is interesting, is that Machamp seller here is the Trick Room setter here with also Wide Guard. So quite literally, this thing is just a support. Well, not support. It basically gave up any other moves it could possibly have to go for Fissure. So, and with Kangaskhan also just here for Fake Out support, this thing's actually pretty important. Some huge thing about this is not running Seismic Toss, which is kind of Kangaskhan's most overpowered move other than Fake Out here. Instead, it's actually running Shadow Claw. Now, Shadow Claw is cool. in the fact that it's completely useless except in this one scenario against Shaw, who is running a Machamp Stellar, which is a Psychic type, aka weak to Shadow Claw, and running the Terragosa can't get faked out, so Shadow Claw can still hit it. Lightning Rod, Tentacle Revolution, because once again, everyone hates the electric terrain teams despite them being so bad, and this thing just completely was it. And it also has Mortal Swing. Mortal Swing hits everything on the field, and also has the high chance of poisoning. And you're just doing that to literally chip down your opponents. There's no ethical reason for you to run this in VGC other than doing that. And then here is the Loaded Dice Dragonite with Scale Shot, Extreme Speed, Terra Normal, your cookie cutter VGC set, other than the fact that it's not running Tailwind. Iron Head is very interesting. Maybe the case that in Scarlet Violet you wouldn't need it, possibly need it in the Gen 1 VGC Tour, but I personally would maybe think Tailwind might be better, considering I don't see a Tailwind on their team. But in the case against Shaw, I don't think a Tailwinder is actually that important, considering his team is kind of built around Trick Room. So let's get into the match, okay? So, right, looking at this matchup here, Shaw would probably lead off with his typical lead. Oh yeah, so this is game 2. Game 1, Dark 1. So, they forgot to save the replay because they're idiots. No respectable way to put it. They didn't save the replay. So now I can only start in game 2. Okay, so Dark currently has a win. I don't even remember how the game went, but well, all I can tell you is probably a Machamp versus Machamp matchup ending, so 1-1 a speed tie. So I think actually, from what I remember later on when they were comparing stats, they have the exact same speed stat. Which makes sense, right? Because they're both running Trick Room, so they're probably both minimum speed, so they were indeed speed tied, no matter what. So even if you set up Trick Room, the only reason it would matter is that Fantastic Friends would go first, and with Instruct, you can make Fissure go first. But yeah, let's see this. Game 2, Arcanine Kangaskhan lead, so it's a Arcanine versus Arcanine, but Kyle's running an Arcanine of a different race, the Hisuian Arcanine, pairing up with Machamp instead of Fantastic Friends. I can't remember exactly why he would do that, because I don't remember the match, and somebody didn't save a replay. The Intimidate can't be scrappy here. We obviously know a Fake Out would come out, but yeah, Machamp can just protect there. Oh yeah, because if you don't Mega Evolve, you still have Scrappy, which means you can hit Machamp if it Terras. This is going for that Terra. Okay, so Arcanine burns its Terra here. Terra Flying to avoid Fissure, which honestly might cook things up for Dark, because now he's wasted his Terra on Arcanine, which is this kind of a support Pokemon in this case. Huge double edge actually isn't able to take the KO. But I think Dragonite here, as long as it's spinning, because we get a Sucker Punch, the Scale Shot goes, misses the Venusaur Prime back. Okay, there's a double miss, so just nothing happens here. But Sucker Punch, okay, doesn't matter because it goes for Morning Sun. But the Scale Shot misses again. That is actually really unfortunate and probably has a huge impact. You see Sappy Seed coming here, is about to take out the Kangaskhan. I think this is where Dark is probably through, because we know that Mega Kangaskhan is probably the counter to Machamp, the fact that it does a lot of damage to it with Shadow Claw no matter if it Terras or not. So by sacking it off, or by making it fall off this early, it's not exactly pleasant. You can see here the Dragonite's building up speed, doing really good shape to the Fantastic Friends. I mean, I guess it is Loaded Dice, but just doing half health there is really solid. Considering if you can take out that thing, you might be able to actually deal with Machamp Stellar. Here comes Dark's Machamp Stellar as Fantastic Friends goes down with no Trick Room setting up. Not that it really matters too much in this matchup. It doesn't matter too much, but okay. Arcanine comes back out as you're trying to preserve this Machamp, since in this scenario, Machamp is basically the restricted. So now it's just a matter of who can keep the Machamp alive to deal fissures, and then you win. Type shit, you know? Alright, so we see a Malignant Chain come out, take down the Arcanine. Machamp Stellar on Dark side comes in. Ooh, huge critical. Double. Oh, that wasn't double. That wasn't a crit. That was a crit. It's super effective. I forgot it's a Dragon type. I'm stupid. I can't read. I'm a draft player. Okay, so with that. Oh, there's the fissure. Venusaur Prime goes down. Okay, Okay, huge scale shot coming in here, ending. It all comes down to a speed tie, I think. Or not. See, okay, see, there's the fissure. He wins the speed tie there. And then all he needs to do is, I think, well, if a scale shot misses. Okay, wait, no. Okay, I was completely wrong. I think, well, it looks like Shaw won game 1. I lied to you guys because I couldn't remember it since someone didn't save the replay. Okay, Jesus Christ, man. So yeah, congrats. Shaw, Dark won game 2 there. So Shaw won game 1. Okay, I forgot because there was no replay saved. Okay, but as we see here into game 3, what kind of adaptation would be taking here? I personally, for Dark, I still don't like the idea of using the Terra on Arcanine. But actually, maybe there might not be too many other better options anyways, because I'm thinking about last game, I don't think there was any Terra worth using. Also, what's important to note here is that Dark has no reason to ever use Screamtail Prime. Because that thing's bulky, it's meant to stay alive, set up, maybe clean up at the end after getting some setup. That's not happening. That is not happening against this one-hit KO meta. Yeah, let's see how we'll go. Okay, so we're leading off in Machamp. Okay, it's a double Machamp lead. This guy leads off the Arcanine here. This is a Dragon. Okay, so we're switching out. I guess we're really scared. They're both Focus Sash here. Actually, I think that's what's a huge factor here, is that you need to break this Sash here. As long as you, because you can't use Fissure on their Machamp as long as the Focus Sash is up. So it's all a matter of how do you break that Sash, but also ending also just outcoming everything, right? So Dragonite getting that huge scale shot crit on the double. Oh my god, the double crit to completely take down Arcanine in one blow. That is very important. Okay, so the Fissure, yeah, takes down that. I don't think it's completely too important because Arcanine doesn't have the most important role. I don't know. So, okay. Kangaskhan trying to go for the fake out, and my AirPods running out of batteries to jump scare me. That's really awesome. So scare shot here because he knows that. I guess he had an idea though. He was probably going to protect there. Double poison into Mortal Spin is kind of huge. Though with shot being able to one-shot everything, I guess, okay, he has switched into the different strategy of playing stall here with Mortal Spin because he has two things poisoned. So now it's just a matter of how well can we chip down Dark's team with the poison. Oh, huge critical hit at Gunk Shot. I don't think it actually mattered though. Shadow Claw is an interesting move to click in that scenario, I will say. Unless he was predicting the switch there. Okay, we got a liquidation coming out there. The Double Edges takes out the Tentacle Revolution in one blow. Sappy Seed come here is doing a lot of chip, but with the Fissure, the Venusaur is down, and now there's only Machamp versus Machamp left. But even if Shaw was able to take out Dark's Machamp, you gotta make sure that it's not in range of Kangaskhan. And well, by making sure there's not really much you can do here. So with the Shadow Claw, look at that, you're doing over half. So with that, Dark loses the 50-50 again, but hardly matters when Mega Kangaskhan is able to finish things off. The only way to win here, I guess, is to just keep spamming Protect and just let the poison take it out. That's the only out you have here, since Shadow Claw cannot miss, but the double Protect does not happen. So Machamp, the evil demon, no guard Fissure, falls. And with that, Dark has secured the win. So yeah, realized my mistake. Machamp is OP. But with that, hey, good job, Dark. Yeah, it was a really fun tournament. I've never really held VGC. I've hardly played VGC myself. I've done it before just for fun in Locos with some of my friends who invited me. I was never a huge VGC player, but I have quite enjoyed watching some VGC in Scarlet Violet. Terra was a very interesting. Honestly, if the VGC was more boring without VGC, or if it didn't have Terra, or it's just even more lame and boring, I probably wouldn't be hosting this stuff. But I've enjoyed watching it so much that I've really just wanted to see it in our server with the NottaDoc stuff. And I've really enjoyed this stuff. Because I figured going NottaDoc, there'd be too many options. It'd be overwhelming. So I limited it to Gen 1. And I wanted to see how players would adapt to that. See, there's a limited mon pool. what may be meta because of this. And it's easier to narrow your vision onto just a selection of Pokemon rather than 1,500 Pokemon and so many possibilities. But also by going national decks, allowing Mega Evolution, using national dex pools, I'm also making sure that I'm not completely limiting stuff down too much. And I really enjoyed this, and I'm pretty sure the players actually did enjoy it too, from what I've heard from feedback. Hey, if you're watching this video and you're not from the server and you want to participate, come join in. As of making this video and coming out, we've finished our Gen 2 tournament, so the next thing you can join is our Gen 3 tournament, which is probably going to be the most chaotic one so far. I have no idea how that's going to go, but I'm really excited for it. Yeah, I will not actually make the same mistake as before. Stuff like Machamp with the no guard fissure will definitely not be allowed anymore. This was the last time it's had its fun. Of course, I've made stupid mistakes before. Again, in Gen 2, you'll see what I mean by that. But this is all in the fun of it, right? You don't understand, you don't immediately know if stuff are going to be tournament breaking, or sometimes you do, but you want to see what happens anyways. And I've seen what happens, and well, it happens. I think it's funny. I think it's interesting. But of course, I will be making changes to make sure the tournament is healthier and funner in the future. So once again, hey, if you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, do all that stuff that YouTubers say to do. Hey, and join my Discord server because I want more people and I want more fun. The more people, the more fun. So yeah.